Dr. Mitchell, you have an urgent call from your children's school. I stepped away from the podium at the National Pediatric Surgery Conference. My presentation on groundbreaking cardiac procedures temporarily paused. My heart raced as I took the phone from the conference coordinator. This is Dr. Sarah Mitchell. Dr. Mitchell, this is Principal Warner. We have a situation. Your mother and sister are here with emergency custody papers. They're claiming you've abandoned the children. The room spun for a moment. I gripped the backstage wall, my medical training kicking in to control my breathing. I'm at a medical conference. The school has my travel documentation and emergency contacts. My children are with their regular nanny, Mrs. Rodriguez, as listed in their files. Yes, we have that information. However, they're insisting the courts have granted them emergency custody due to alleged neglect. I pulled out my phone and quickly opened my home security app. The cameras had shown my twins, Emily and James, safe in their playroom with Mrs. Rodriguez just 2 hours ago. But there was something else, footage from last night, that I hadn't reviewed yet. Principal Warner, please keep my children in your office. I'm calling my lawyer and will have this sorted within the hour. Under no circumstances are they to leave with anyone but Mrs. Rodriguez. I ended the call and immediately dialed my attorney. Kate, they're making their move. Already accessing the footage you sent last night, Kate replied. Your family has no idea you installed those cameras, do they? No. After Mom's comments about my inability to balance career and motherhood, I knew they were planning something. I quickly reviewed last night's footage. My mother and sister in my home while Mrs. Rodriguez had taken the kids to their weekly swimming lessons. They must have used Mom's old emergency key. Their conversation made my blood run cold. Once we have custody, we can redirect the trust fund management, my sister said. Sarah's too busy playing doctor to manage it properly anyway. The judge just needs proof she's an absent mother, Mom replied. A few well-timed emergency custody papers while she's showing off at that conference should do it. Kate's voice brought me back to the present. Sarah, I'm sending my associate to the school now. I'm heading to the courthouse with the footage. Your mother just filed for emergency custody 10 minutes ago. They're trying to get it approved before you can respond. I'll book the next flight home. No, Kate said firmly. Stay at the conference. Give your presentation. We need to show the judge you're exactly where you're supposed to be. A leading pediatric surgeon educating others to save children's lives. Let me handle your family's power play. I returned to the conference hall, somehow maintaining my composure through the rest of my presentation on minimally invasive cardiac procedures in infants. The other surgeons noticed nothing amiss as I discussed saving children's lives while fighting to keep custody of my own. My phone buzzed with updates from Kate throughout the afternoon. Footage submitted to judge. Emergency custody denied. Your mother claiming grandmother's rights. Sister attempting to access trust fund records. Police notified about unauthorized home entry. Finally, during the evening reception, Kate called with news. The judge is furious, she reported. Your mother's emergency custody petition has been thrown out, and there's a temporary restraining order preventing them from approaching the school or your home. But Sarah, there's more. I stepped onto the hotel balcony, watching the sunset over the city. Tell me. The footage caught them discussing previous attempts to access the children's trust fund. Your sister admitted to trying to forge your signature on documents. We're looking at potential criminal charges. The trust fund, set up by my late husband before his death 3 years ago. He had made me sole trustee, knowing my family's history of financial manipulation. It had infuriated them. This final act of protection for our children. What do they want with the trust fund? I wondered aloud. Based on their conversation, they've made some bad investment decisions. They need capital to cover their losses. Your children's trust fund is significant enough to solve their problems. I thought about my twins, now 10 years old, safely home with Mrs. Rodriguez, about their father, who had known to protect them even after he was gone, about my mother, who had never forgiven me for choosing medicine over the family business. Dr. Mitchell, a young resident approached. Your presentation on the new cardiac procedure was incredible. The way you've modified it to reduce recovery time for children. You're changing lives. I thanked her, remembering why I had chosen this path. My family had never understood that success wasn't just about money. It was about impact, about making the world better for children like mine. Kate, I said, returning to the phone, what's our next move? The judge wants a full hearing next week. Your family's actions have backfired spectacularly. The unauthorized entry, the attempted trust fund access, the false claims to the school. They've given us everything we need. I received another notification from my home security system. Current footage showed Emily and James doing homework at the kitchen table, Mrs. Rodriguez baking their favorite cookies. Normal, safe, protected. One more thing, Kate added. The judge reviewed your children's academic records and your work history. He was particularly impressed by the pediatric cardiac wing you helped establish at County General. It seems your family's claims about your fitness as a mother don't match reality. After ending the call, I watched more live footage from home. The twins were now showing Mrs. Rodriguez their completed homework, their faces bright with achievement. No sign of the neglected children my family had described to the court. My phone buzzed with a message from my mother. We were trying to help. You can't be a proper mother while playing doctor. Playing doctor. As if saving children's lives was a game. As if being a surgeon somehow made me less of a mother. I typed back. The hidden cameras caught everything. Stay away from my children. Then I blocked her number and called home. The twins' faces lit up my screen on video chat, excited to tell me about their day, unaware of the battle that had raged around them. Mom, I got an A on my science project, James announced. And I made the advanced ballet class, Emily added. That's wonderful, I said, watching their proud smiles. I'll be home tomorrow night, and you can tell me everything. After saying goodnight, I reviewed the security footage again. My family, so certain of their righteous intervention, had never thought to look for cameras. They had never considered that a busy surgeon might have already anticipated and prepared for their schemes. Tomorrow, I would finish educating fellow surgeons on saving children's lives. Then I would go home to my own children, whose lives I would protect with every tool at my disposal, medical, legal, and technological. My family had tried to paint me as an absent mother. Instead, they had proven just how present and prepared I really was. The judge's chambers were silent as the security footage played. My mother and sister shifted uncomfortably in their seats as their own voices filled the room. Once we get the kids, we can liquidate enough of the trust fund to cover the investment losses. Sarah's too busy cutting people open to notice. We'll tell the judge she left them alone. Judge Harrison paused the playback, his expression stern. Mrs. Bennett, he addressed my mother. Would you care to explain why you entered your daughter's home without permission to plan this custody grab? We were concerned, my mother began, her society manners in full force. Sarah's always at the hospital, at conferences. Those children need a proper family environment. A proper family environment, I repeated quietly, like having their grandmother break into their home and lie to the courts. My sister jumped in. We were trying to help. You're never there, always in surgery, always at some medical thing. The kids need stability. Ms. Mitchell, Kate interjected, pulling out another document. Are you aware that your sister maintains a strict schedule of her surgical procedures around her children's activities? That she hasn't missed a single parent-teacher conference or school event unless she was literally saving another child's life. More footage played, this time from earlier months. Me helping with homework between surgical consults. Reading bedtime stories over video chat while on call. Attending school plays and sports events in my scrubs, having rushed from the hospital. Furthermore, Kate continued, we have documentation of Mrs. Bennett and Ms. Mitchell attempting to access the Children's Trust Fund multiple times over the past year, including these forged documents. My sister paled. Banking fraud was serious. Your Honor, my mother tried again. We only want what's best for the children. Their father wouldn't have wanted. Don't. My voice cut through the room. Don't you dare speak for David. He made me sole trustee for a reason. He knew exactly who you were. The judge reviewed more documents. Dr. Mitchell's children are excelling academically. They're involved in multiple activities. Their school reports show them to be well-adjusted, happy children. Mrs. Rodriguez has been their after-school caregiver since they were toddlers, providing consistent care when Dr. Mitchell is saving lives. He turned to my family. What I see here is not neglect. I see a successful surgeon who has carefully structured her life to balance her vital work with attentive parenting. What I also see is attempted financial fraud and custodial interference. But she's never home. My sister protested. Really? Kate pulled up more security footage. Me cooking breakfast with the twins, helping with homework, taking weekend trips to museums, enjoying movie nights. Normal family moments captured by the cameras my family never suspected. Your Honor, I said quietly. I installed the security system after overhearing their initial plans. Every room, every entrance. They never knew they were being recorded during their numerous unauthorized entries into my home. Numerous? The judge raised an eyebrow. At least 6 times in the past month, I confirmed. Always when they thought I was in surgery or at the hospital. Always discussing how to gain control of the trust fund. My mother stood up, her composure cracking. Those children deserve better than a part-time mother. Those children, Judge Harrison responded, deserve exactly what they have. A mother who both cares for them and contributes to society. Dr. Mitchell, how many pediatric lives have you saved this year? 17 critical surgeries, Your Honor, including 3 procedures that other surgeons deemed impossible, while maintaining an active presence in your children's lives. Yes, Your Honor, my surgical schedule is built around their school hours when possible. Mrs. Rodriguez has been with us for 8 years, providing stability and care. The children video chat with me during any extended surgeries or conferences. The judge reviewed one final document, and this trust fund they're so interested in. David set it up before his death, I explained. He'd seen how my family operated. The money is strictly for the children's education and future. I can't touch it, and neither can my family. It drove them crazy. We're their family. My sister protested. We should have some say. Your attempt to gain emergency custody while Dr. Mitchell was presenting life-saving surgical techniques at a medical conference suggests otherwise, Judge Harrison stated, as does your documented attempt to misappropriate funds meant for your niece and nephew's future. He straightened his papers. My ruling is as follows. The emergency custody petition is denied. A permanent restraining order is granted, preventing Mrs. Bennett and Ms. Mitchell from approaching Dr. Mitchell's home, her children's school, or her place of work. The trust fund remains under Dr. Mitchell's sole trusteeship. He wasn't finished. Furthermore, I'm referring the attempted financial fraud to the district attorney's office. Breaking and entering charges will also be considered. My mother gasped. My sister started to cry. Your Honor, my mother tried one last time. We're family. Family, he responded, doesn't attempt to steal children's inheritance. Family doesn't lie to courts about parental fitness, and family certainly doesn't break into homes to plot against their own daughter. Outside the courthouse, Kate handed me the final paperwork. They won't be able to try this again, she assured me. They'll find another way. I sighed. They always do. Not with this much evidence against them. The DA is very interested in those forged documents. I checked my phone. A text from Mrs. Rodriguez showing the twins working on their science projects. Safe. Protected. Unaware of how close they'd come to being pawns in my family's financial schemes. You know, Kate said gently, most surgeons would have given up, chosen an easier path. That's why I couldn't, I replied, because my children need to see that women can be mothers and surgeons, that helping others doesn't make you a bad parent. That evening, I helped Emily with her ballet stretches while James showed me his latest coding project. Normal moments, precious in their simplicity. Mom, Emily asked during dinner, why was Grandma at school yesterday? I looked at my children, so innocent, so unaware of the adult complications swirling around them. Sometimes, I said carefully, grown-ups make mistakes. Grandma and Aunt Lisa made some big mistakes, so they won't be visiting for a while. Because they were mean? James asked. Because they forgot what's really important, I answered. They forgot that family means protecting each other, not hurting each other. Later, after bedtime stories and goodnight hugs, I watched the security footage one last time. Not the shots of my family's schemes, but the daily moments they'd never bothered to see. Homework help between surgeries, weekend pancake breakfasts, movie nights with Mrs. Rodriguez when I was on call. My phone buzzed. A message from the hospital. Another impossible surgery. Another child needing help only I could provide. I smiled, already planning tomorrow's schedule. Some might call it an impossible balance. Mother and surgeon, caregiver and professional. But as I watched my sleeping children, secure in their beds, I knew the truth. Sometimes the impossible just takes a little more planning, a lot more determination, and a really good security system. 3 months after the courthouse showdown, I stood in a different kind of court, the criminal one. My sister's attempt to forge trust fund documents had caught up with her, and the DA wasn't feeling lenient. 6 counts of attempted fraud, the prosecutor stated. 3 counts of breaking and entering. 1 count of attempted custodial interference. My sister sat with her lawyer, her designer outfit replaced by something appropriately subdued. Our mother watched from the gallery, her face a mask of disbelief as her perfect world crumbled. I wasn't there to testify. The security footage spoke for itself. I was there because my daughter Emily had asked a question I couldn't ignore. Mom, why do people who say they love us try to hurt us? So I watched, not for revenge, but for closure, for understanding that might help my children process this family fracture someday. The defendant attempted to gain control of minors' trust funds through deception, the prosecutor continued. When that failed, she participated in a scheme to obtain emergency custody under false pretenses. During a break, my mother approached despite the restraining order. A bailiff moved to intercept her, but I waved him back. Some things needed to be said. Was your career worth destroying our family? She demanded. My career saves children's lives, I replied calmly. The only destruction happened when you tried to steal from my children. We were trying to protect them from your neglect. I pulled out my phone, showing her photos from the past month. James winning the robotics competition, Emily's ballet recital, both kids at the hospital's family day where I demonstrated simple surgical techniques to fascinated children. This is what you call neglect. Happy, successful children with a mother who shows them they can make a difference in the world. She stared at the photos, seeing perhaps for the first time what she'd missed, the reality of our lives beyond her narrow definition of proper parenting. David would be so disappointed. She tried one last time. Actually, I said, pulling out one final piece of evidence I'd never shared. David left this video message before he died. I think it's time you saw it. On the screen, my late husband appeared, recorded during his final hospital stay. If you're seeing this, someone's challenged Sarah's parenting. So let me be clear. I trust her completely with our children's future. She'll teach them that success isn't just about money, that helping others isn't a waste of time. Don't let anyone tell them different. My mother turned away, but not before I saw tears in her eyes. The sentencing was fair. My sister got probation and mandatory financial counseling, plus restitution. She was barred from any contact with my children's trust fund and required to undergo therapy. That evening, I had a different kind of challenge, explaining to my children why family sometimes fails us. Mom, James asked during our weekly pizza and science documentary night, are we poor now that we don't have Grandma and Aunt Lisa? No, sweetheart. We're rich in all the ways that matter. We have love, education, and the chance to help others. Emily looked up from her physics homework. At 10, she was already dreaming of being a doctor like me. Is that why you do surgery instead of business? To help people? Exactly. Sometimes the best success isn't counted in money. Later that night, I received an unexpected email from my sister's therapist. With her permission to share, I'm beginning to understand what we did wrong. Not just the legal things, but the way we measured worth only in dollars and appearances. Your children are lucky to have a mother who teaches them different values. I showed the email to Mrs. Rodriguez, who'd stood by us through everything. She smiled wisely. Sometimes people need to lose everything to see what really matters. The next day brought another impossible surgery, another child needing hope. As I scrubbed in, I thought about legacy. Not the financial kind my family obsessed over, but the real kind. My children were growing up seeing their mothers save lives, learning that career and family weren't opposing forces, but complementary strengths. My phone buzzed with a text from the twins' school. Emily had just won the science fair with a project on cardiac surgery techniques, while James's coding club had developed an app to help kids understand medical procedures. Success, I realized, echoing through generations, just not the way my family had planned. That evening, surrounded by homework and medical journals, watching my children thrive in their own unique ways, I understood something profound. We hadn't lost family. We'd simply redefined it. The security cameras still recorded our daily life, but now they captured only joy. Homework sessions, science experiments, late-night discussions about the universe. The kind of wealth my family had never understood, the kind that couldn't be stolen or forged or taken away. Emily looked up from her anatomy book, a gift from a grateful patient's family. "Mom, can we visit the hospital again? I want to see another surgery." James joined in. "Yeah, and I can show the kids my new medical gaming app." I smiled, sending a silent thank you to David for helping me create this legacy of purpose over profit. "Of course," I replied. "There's always more to learn, more ways to help." And in that moment, watching my children dream of their own ways to make a difference, I knew we'd won something far more valuable than any trust fund could provide. 1 year later, I stood in the hospital auditorium watching Emily and James present at our annual Kids in Medicine Day. Emily demonstrated basic suturing techniques on practice models, while James showed other children how to use his medical education app, now officially adopted by 3 children's hospitals. The security cameras at home gathered dust, no longer necessary for protection, but kept as a reminder. Their footage had become a video diary of healing, not just the physical healing in my career, but the emotional healing of our redefined family. A familiar face appeared at the back of the auditorium. My mother, thinner and grayer, standing hesitantly by the door. She wasn't violating the restraining order. It had expired last month, and she'd made no attempt to renew contact until now. She watched her grandchildren shine in their element, teaching other kids about medicine and technology. Her expression shifted from uncertainty to something like understanding. After the presentation, she approached cautiously, stopping at a respectful distance. "They're remarkable," she said softly, "just like their mother." "They are," I agreed. "They're learning that success has many definitions." "I see that now." She pulled out an envelope. "I've been in therapy too. Like Lisa. I wrote this for them. And for you. When you think they're ready." I took the envelope, noting the tremor in her hand. "Mom, I was wrong," she interrupted, "about everything. Watching you today, seeing those children you saved, see how Emily and James have grown. I finally understand what David saw." The twins noticed her then, but stayed by their presentation tables, waiting for my signal. They'd grown wiser too, learning about boundaries and trust. "They're presenting their projects at the National Medical Education Conference next month," I told her. "James's app is being considered for a national award. Not following the family business after all," she smiled sadly. "They're following something better." She turned to leave, then paused. "The family company is changing too. We're starting a foundation, funding medical education for underprivileged children. Lisa's idea, actually, part of her redemption journey." That evening, the twins asked about their grandmother's appearance. "Is she different now?" Emily wondered. "Sometimes people need time to learn and grow," I explained. "Just like in medicine, healing takes time. Like when you have to wait for surgical results." James asked, ever the technical thinker. "Exactly like that." We sat in our favorite spot, the home library we converted from the formal dining room my mother had once insisted every proper home needed. Around us were books on medicine, science, art, and humanity. Success measured in knowledge and compassion rather than stock portfolios. I showed them their grandmother's letter. They read it together, these wise children who'd learned early about complexity and forgiveness. "She says she's proud of us," Emily noted, surprised. "She says she's learning," James added. The next day, I performed another impossible surgery, my children watching from the observation deck, their reward for straight A's. Afterward, Emily practiced sutures, while James coded new features for his app. My phone buzzed with a message from Lisa. The foundation approved its first round of medical scholarships. 10 kids who dream of being doctors, just like Emily. Thank you for showing us a different way. I looked at my children, so confidently pursuing their passions, unafraid of defying expectations. At the wall of thank you cards from families whose children I'd helped heal. At the security cameras that had once protected us, and now simply chronicled our joy. Success, I realized, wasn't in the trust fund my family had tried to steal. It was in these moments, teaching, healing, growing, forgiving. It was in Emily's steady hands practicing surgical knots, in James's determination to make medical knowledge accessible to other kids. We had lost a family, but gained a legacy, one of purpose, compassion, and the courage to define success on our own terms. And that was worth more than all the trust funds in the world.